Well, I think music's really important for video games. Ultimately, audio is a huge part of the immersiveness of any virtual space, any game space. And I think specifically a lot of the personality of the Warcraft setting, very specifically the game World of Warcraft, has been defined by its kind of audioscape.
The music is not meant to be noticed, it's meant to be felt. Typically in a film, you have one composer. That is often true in the game world, but in this case, World of Warcraft is so vast, there's certainly a very practical reason to have more than one composer. In Running Minutes, there is more music in the Draenei and Blood Elf starting areas alone than in the entire original product that was released in 2004. It took 3 on-staff composers plus some contributions from one of our sound effects staff, and we actually worked with an outside composer on a particular subset of music that was a good match for his talents. An orchestra is so unique in its sound, and while the modern synthesizer and samplers can bring back pretty good memories of an orchestra, side by side there's no contest in terms of expressiveness and musicality and emotion conveyed. I wrote a piece of music for the Blood Elf starting area, and the more I got into it, as I began feeling it come together, I noticed how lyrical the melody sounded. It seemed like something you could sing.
Russell asked me to help him out with some of the lyrics for his Blood Elf music, and that's something that's written in Galatian.
The vocalist that we were discussing, the song, it was a beautiful, haunting soprano.
She looked at it, she listened to what we had to say, she put the music up, and in one take, she had us on the floor, just sobbing. It was so, it was just so touching. Derek and I sat down and we discussed the 2 new races and whether or not we could find a vocabulary for each race.
Something like the Draenei, where it's a race that we've never heard before, we've never seen before. You have this race that travels on an interdimensional ship. Their ship is populated with crystals, and I could imagine them growing up around these vibrating crystals, and so I began to formulate these ideas that their cultural music would be something that would revolve around singing and making these harmonic tones as if they were raised around vibrating musics and tones and things like this. So that sort of became the foundation of the music.
When you first come into Hellfire, you hear the kind of surf guitar textures that no one, if you told them to, would think could ever work in the WoW universe and could definitely not work for an opening scene. And for me, it's been a lot of fun trying to get those kind of textures, which nobody would expect. Nagran, because it is so pastoral, was an opportunity to do a lot more of the kind of sweet orchestral sound that we had in the original release. part of Terracar Forest that's been kind of destroyed and has become kind of one large cemetery. I really tried to key into just trying to capture that kind of brittle, lifeless feeling and menacing at the same time.
Sound is a big, broad brush with as much potential as the visuals, as the story, and as the gameplay to affect your experience as a player.